Hey guys, this is Student TV here. We're talking with Max Starks. Max Starks is a two-time Super Bowl winning lineman with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's here talking with us from Stadium. He'll be commentating the game this Saturday versus Old Dominion and UNC. Max, how you doing?
I am doing great. I can't complain.
Glad to hear. Glad to hear. You're up in Virginia, beautiful area up there. About to go through walkthroughs, right?
Yeah, about to hit the Old Dominion walkthroughs and get to talking to their coaching staff.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool. It's going to be a great game. Looking forward to it. Jump right into it. I just mentioned you got a nice little resume. You got some jewelry on your hand. Love to hear about that. Talk a little bit about your background, where you come from, how long you're in the league.
Well, I mean, for myself, I played in the NFL for about 10 years, the majority of those with Pittsburgh. I'm from Orlando, Florida, originally played at the University of Florida, and I had a great career. I was blessed to be on Pittsburgh Steelers teams when we went to 3 different Super Bowls, won 2 of those, beat the Seattle Seahawks and the Arizona Cardinals in Super Bowls 40 and 43, came a little short against Green Bay in 45, and then after that retired to Arizona, and now I'm a sports broadcaster going into my 3rd year, and my first year was Stadium, along with Westwood One and local coverage for the Arizona Cardinals.
Whew, that's not too bad of a career at all. Touched on it a little bit, but you played in 2 amazing Super Bowls, and you started in all these games, correct?
Yeah, all of them from 40 and 43. I was injured in 45, so I did not start that. I started the first 9 weeks of that season, but not in the playoffs. But yeah, what you're talking about in particular was my first year starting as a second-year player, and that was our divisional playoff round in Indianapolis. And yeah, that was a special moment.
I can imagine. It all paid off, though. I think it ended on a good note, right?
Oh, it ended on a high note, so I'm glad we could talk about it now. But in the moment, a little bit tense.
I believe it. I believe it. That was your second year, correct? Like, you had just come into the league and you're already standing on the nation's biggest stage.
Yeah, second year, but you know what's funny? On that team as well, I mean, not only myself, but I mean, 2 other guys on my draft class, Ben Roethlisberger, Ricardo Coakley, and an undrafted free agent from our class, Willie Parker from UNC. We're all second-year guys in prominent roles for that game, so it was a big moment for all of us.
So talk about that. You guys get down. What was the final score? It was 21-10. The buzzer goes off. The refs blow the whistle. How does that feel to win a Super Bowl, hit the apex of football?
Well, I think it's one of those things. It's a very hard feeling to describe. Because you dream of that as a kid. You put yourself in those situations where you're playing backyard football, about having that opportunity, and for it to be realized as an adult, and so young into my career, it was it was a very surreal type of feeling. Just because when I look at it, my father actually played the only other time in Detroit for the Super Bowl and played against the 49ers the year I was born. So it had a lot of meaning. It had a lot of emotion and background that went into that moment for me personally. And it was a tremendous opportunity. But the problem is, once you get there, that itch and that desire just burns. That every year you don't get there afterwards, it feels like a letdown.
Ooh, I bet. You get bitten by the bug a little bit. You gotta keep going back, right?
Yeah, have to. And luckily, we got that bug 2 more times, so that was a good feeling.
Yeah, and I'd say the next time you were there, it was definitely fulfilled. You were leading the game for a majority of the time. Then Kurt Warner and Larry Fitzgerald happened, and then you guys are sitting there with around 2 minutes left on the clock. And you got to put something together really quick, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, it was a well-thought-out game. The Cardinals, we had a lot of history with that team as far as their staff, because that was my old staff from Super Bowl 40, was the majority of that Cardinal staff. So there was a bit of, some bitterness, slash anxiety and slash, kind of want to get back for both our sides. And and for me, once again, this is another milestone. This is the closest I was ever going to get to playing at home in Orlando, Florida, was playing in Tampa on the other side of I-4. So I had that many family and friends in the stands, and I couldn't let them down. Just while I couldn't let my teammates down. I was like, this is my homecoming game, for me. So I can't lose homecoming. Who loses homecoming?
Exactly. That's supposed to be the easy game, right?
So that last drive, a lot of emotion was on the sidelines because we had stalled on the previous drive, and this we knew was going to be our last opportunity really to be on the field to actually affect the game. So we knew we had to make it meaningful. And, from the offensive line standpoint, I had a moment on there where I think they actually filmed it, where I was telling my guys how we were built for this. All the adversity we went through throughout the year, all of the last-minute comebacks and fourth-quarter comebacks we had to build to get to this moment, put us in this position to be successful in this moment of all moments. And then Santonio, on his side with his wide receiving crew and with Ben, was saying, hey, feed me the ball. Feed me the ball. I want to be great. I want to be great. And so you had these two very different opposing views, but very similarly focused views going on, and it just brewed the perfect storm once we got on the field. We got our blocking assignments down, and Santonio did the rest. He got all the catches, it seemed like, on that drive.
He did, yeah.
And it ended in success.
Definitely say it was very successful, and you're not kidding. That was a hell of a drive. I was rewatching it earlier, and they were coming off the corner. You were fighting the entire time, it looked like.
Yeah. And funny enough, I now work in the same radio station as the guy I was going against, so it's always funny when we bring that back up.
No way, that's crazy. So, you got that final drive, Santonio Holmes, you're not kidding. He pretty much carried all the work. Ben kept hitting him, and, what was it? You guys got down to within the 10-yard line, and I think the first two passes to the end zone, Holmes missed them. And then that third one, Ben hit him right in that corner, and that was it. That was the game.
Yeah. Well, it was first down. We went to the left on a corner route to Santonio. And, fingertip catch. But then second down was when we went and threw it to Tone, and he made the grab. Because the biggest argument was, he didn't get it in bounds. You guys would have lost the game. I said, no, we had two more tries at the end zone. After that, you guys would not have stopped us, and we would have continued to kill clock. So you should be thankful that we scored that touchdown. That's what I always tell Cardinals fans out there, because it's always a funny thing. They always like to bring, you only won one Super Bowl. The other one's under contention. I'm like, no, it's not. We beat you guys fair and square. How would you not throw an interception for a 100-yard return for a touchdown to an outside linebacker who's not supposed to be outrunning wide receivers? Then you have a problem.
Yeah, throw it right back at them. They love hearing that. It's like talking to Browns fans about the drive against the Broncos.
Exactly.
I think it's still revered as one of the greatest Super Bowls of all time. I mean, the only thing I can think of could compete with it would be this year. Yeah, that's an amazing event to be a part of. You've definitely left a legacy behind, so that's amazing.
Well, thank you.
And so you played with some amazing people too. You played under Bill Cowher. You played under Mike Tomlin. You were even there for a little bit for Antonio Brown. Like, you've definitely seen some guys, I'm sure.
Yeah, I've had my fair share, and even some more unsung guys that are on there. Joey Porter, another one. You think of James Harrison and what he's still doing in his career. I spent all my time with James. You also look Troy Polamalu, another great. Alan Faneca is another one who'll probably be a Hall of Famer. Heath Miller. I had some great teammates over the years, guys who I love and respect to this day. And, we share something special. We share a special journey.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely respect them. But watching them play against my Cowboys, love's a strong word. But
yeah, well, hey, the Cowboys are the Cowboys. I mean, they were great in the 90s, and they look okay now. But I'm just long term. Can your boy Ezekiel Elliott keep his head on straight, and can your defensive line actually stay active and not suspended? That would be the test.
Definitely, definitely. Once they get that defense straightened out, and once our backfield is getting it together, we'll be good. I have faith. So now that you're done, what do you kind of do in your free time? What do you watch football all the time? Are you going out playing golf? What's a day in the life now for you?
Well, now, especially this time of year, it's college football. I'm a full-time Conference USA analyst and broadcaster. I also do broadcasting. I cover the Cardinals, Fox 10 Phoenix, and also for 98.7 FM, flagship station for AZ Sports. And also Westwood One, I do sideline reporting for Monday Night Football as well. So my weekends are pretty much covered in the fall. When I'm not doing that, I'm an entrepreneur. I run two different car dealerships in southwestern Pennsylvania. I have a real estate holdings company and a construction company in the Midwest where we focus on mixed-use buildings and properties in the Nebraska, Iowa, Missouri area. And, and then I'm a dad to two little girls who are very active. So, yeah, free time is a very loose phrase when we say free. It's just how high the responsibility factor is at that moment.
Yeah, it sounds like you haven't slowed down at all. That's amazing. That's a great way to spend your time for sure. So, kind of switching subjects now. Let's move over to the game this weekend. UNC versus Old Dominion. This will be an interesting little landmark for both teams, I'm sure. One of them, UNC's coming out 0-2, and Old Dominion's coming out 2-0. What's your take on the game? What's your first impression of it going into it?
Well, I think when you look at this game, it's a game that I'm trying to think how do you even approach it to talk about it. Let's start on the UNC side. Let's start with Larry Fedora's Tar Heels. I think the biggest thing for Larry is he's going to have to come out and play a game where he's been 0-2 leading into this season, and then now you're facing a non-Power 5 school, a newer FBS school in Old Dominion, a team obviously 2 years ago that they put a pretty bad thumping on and pretty much called the mercy rule out in the game to end it early because it got out of hand. 80-20 was the final score. And then you come full circle 2 years later, and Old Dominion's coming into this game 2-0 at home. First time they've had a Power 5 school in their stadium. And now North Carolina's coming in 0-2 after two hard-fought games. You look at the game against Cal and then also the game against Louisville last week where they kind of got back on track and looked more like the UNC that we knew but came up short. And, it's something where, coming into this season, you look at UNC was touted as a better defensive team than offensive team just because of the weapons loss. I mean, you think of losing Mitchell Trubisky to the draft and then a lot of other seniors leaving, and now you have a different group in there leading the charge. You have a transfer in Brandon Harris, redshirt freshman Chaz. I can't even think of Chaz's last name. It's like Stewart or
Surratt.
Surratt, there we go. So you have these guys kind of playing a two-quarterback system coming into this game. You still have two really good running backs, and Austin Prohl out there on the outside as a really great receiver. But, defense was supposed to be the strong point, and they've kind of let up some big plays in games at critical points. I mean, obviously, they've still done some great things along the defensive line to apply pressure and keep the team in games, but you have All-American corner MJ Stewart out there on the edges, and you have some younger guys really filling in some roles. So it's for them is to get back to playing their game because right now giving up over 480 yards a game is not what you think of Larry Fedora brand of Tar Heel football. So for them, it's going to be coming out, establishing the line of scrimmage early, defensively and offensively, and controlling the tempo of the game. Now you look on the other side with Old Dominion, and Old Dominion is coming off of 2-0, two convincing games, and arguably the number one sacking defensive line in all of FBS football. And so you got Rotimi and you got Romes on the ends that are providing a lot of pressure, and then Malik Fox in the middle. And these guys have sacked the quarterback 17 times in two games. So the offensive line is going to really have a tough time with them. Their back half secondary has done a fantastic job because of that pass rush, and UNC is going to have to do something to stop that pass rush and kind of quell it, with a quality run game. And then on the offense side of the ball for Old Dominion, you have LaRussa back there, and they're still trying to develop their continuity, but they have a backfield just like UNC that has a dynamic duo of running backs that really controlled the game and really made it easier on their quarterbacks because of their outstanding play. And it's going to be a tough game in general, and Old Dominion coming in high and looking for their first ever Power 5 victory, and of course, on the night of their 100th game as a program, which is pretty spectacular to think how far they've come in such a short time, in 8 seasons, that this team went to this first bowl game and then won it, just last year, and that coming off 10-win seasons, only really having 2 bad seasons as a program in whole, and they already started out 2-0. So a lot of momentum's riding high on this game, and it's going to be a very exciting, very fun game to watch coming up tomorrow.
So you kind of touched on it, how the defense was meant to be the strong suit of this. Are you seeing kind of a switch? Like you said, the defense is allowing a lot of big plays. I know we watched with Louisville, Lamar Jackson had a crazy touchdown run. Just like little mental errors that we're seeing. Do you think our offense is kind of picking up the pace, and despite losing all those weapons, we're still an offensive team, or where do you see UNC's strength lying?
Well, I think you're still going to have to be on the defense side of the ball because there's more veterans and more senior leadership on that side of the ball. Offense, got a little depleted this past year, but there's still a lot of leadership. I think there still has to be a balance, but you have to be able to lean on your defense to close out games. Just because you're still in limbo with who your quarterback leader is on that team. Because right now the leader is your wide receiver, Austin Proehl. So until there's a definitive leader and there's not switching out quarterbacks, every half or whenever one's hot and one's cold, you're going to still have influx offensively. But I think defensively, there's a lot of guys who can pick up that slack. You look at an MJ Stewart in the secondary, you look at a Malik Carney along the defensive line, and these have to be your leaders. And when your offense is stalling, you need your defense to pick you up and to close out the games for you, because there was an opportunity in both games for defense to close it out, and they just gave up some big plays at the end of it that really put the game out of reach. I mean, when you talked about playing against Louisville and Lamar Jackson himself is going to make every single team in all of college football look stupid when he's out there on the field. Nobody's really been able to hold him. That's why he won a Heisman last year, and that's why he's a pretty good candidate to win it again this year, because you look at the physical gifts and the talents that he has. He is a once-in-a-generation type of talent when it comes to his play on the football field as a collegiate athlete. So you can't really – that game's always going to be on every team's schedule that has him as an asterisk. Like you can't base our defensive numbers off of this, because he's going to get you 400 yards. Some way, somehow, you're not going to hold him under 300 yards of offensive production. So you just have to kind of scratch that game off and do the law of the averages off of every other game. So that is a tough point, but I think it is still in your defense. There has to be the leadership component on this UNC team. I think Coach Fedora kind of hinted to that in our meeting with him. And knowing Larry as long as I have, because he was my running backs coach at University of Florida, I know what type of personality he is. I know what type of person he is and the philosophies that he instills. And he wants it to be offensive, but he knows this year he kind of has to lay back on it and allow the defense really to be the leaders on this team.
Yeah, you definitely see that the defense is there's a lot of responsibility still sitting on their back, even though the offense is still being rebuilt. With that, actually, the quarterback controversy, who do you see kind of coming out on top? Do you see Harris kind of taking that opportunity to kind of step up, or do you think it's going to still be a back-and-forth battle?
I still think it's a back-and-forth battle as of right now, because if you're comparing the two games, both guys had great games when they had opportunities coming in as the second guy. Because you look at the first game, Brandon Harris starts. He gets benched because he was cold, and then Chad Surratt has a great second half. But then you come to the next game when Chad Surratt gets the starting nod, he kind of fumbles a little bit, and then Brandon Harris has a great game. So whichever whichever guy is going to be the most consistent. I think that's what you have to figure out. Right now it's 1-1. So maybe this will be the tiebreaker to decide who would be the starting quarterback moving forward for the rest of the season after this game. But, yeah, I haven't seen enough consistency from either quarterback when given the opportunity to go out and just say that this guy's a clear-cut winner, because both of them have had their struggles when they've started in that role for the UNC offense.
Definitely. So this game, do you see it being high scoring, or do you see the defenses stepping up and holding the offenses back?
Yeah, I think this will be a high scoring affair, just because I think both of these defenses, Old Dominion's defense right now, it's number one in sacks, so a lot of pressure is going to be put on this offensive line, but I think they'll answer the call and give whoever's at quarterback an opportunity. But I think it's going to be based on the run game. I think both run games are going to be on full display here because you know of the sacking ability of these defenses. So they're going to try and hold them at bay by having a solid run game. But I think once the run game's established, you'll start seeing the aerial assaults happening because there's too many good receivers on both sides of the ball. You're looking at Cole and Duhart on each side that are fantastic receivers. And then you have trying to get Fitz more involved from the tight end position on UNC side. So I think there are going to be plenty of opportunities where the ball's going to be put in the air and a lot of big plays. Just whether which team takes advantage of those plays. So I think this game, will be in the high 20s, low 30s, for my taste. But I would love to see it get into the 40s, just to make it a really interesting game.
With that said, who do you see coming out on top?
Such a tough one. As a broadcaster, the best part is I get to watch it unfold live. But it is going to be a tough game. It's really hard to call just because you're thinking of what it means to both programs for this victory and how important it is. Emotions are going to run high, and I think just looking at how both of these teams are, I want UNC to finally get their first victory of the year. So I would venture to say that UNC has a slight edge, but I can't quantify the emotional factor it is for the 100th game, beating an FBS school, having them hosted at home, for this young program in Old Dominion and playing in their stadium. So it's really, I think it's one of those where you call it a pick-em and a 1 to 2 point difference on either side.
Yeah, looking forward to it. It is definitely going to be a pretty high intensity game all around. Kind of switching subjects now, I want to touch on Stadium, the company you're representing.
Yeah, well, I think when you look at how this is for Stadium is a collaborative effort between American Sports Network, 120 Sports, and Silver Chalice, and Campus Insiders, and it kind of merged to give you all access to sports all the time, but in the format of bringing in creative different ways on the second screen type of network. And I think looking at this, looking at the network here, it is something that's really, really different because you think of how sports is consumed. It's not consumed in front of a television like it is traditionally. Go to Costco, go to the big brand market stores and buy this big screen TV so you can sit around and watch it, all around the entire time. It's now being consumed where you can catch it on Twitter. You can catch it on the app itself, on the WatchStadium.com website, and it features exclusive live on-demand games, events. There's so many things that you can currently get on there with daily live programming that isn't offered anywhere else. It's not offered on ESPN. It's not offered on Fox or Fox Sports 1, where you have a lot more shows than you do actual live sporting events. This is live action, in your face, all kinds of sports, bringing you everything from the collegiate to the professional level, and it's presented in a way to where it can be easily digested, within that 2-minute time frame, within that 5-minute commentary, to where people can watch this stuff on the go, at work, in their homes, in the bathroom, at the restaurant, wherever you want to be able to consume this, you have access to it at your fingertips on your smart device. So it's a really creative thing. I'm happy to have been a part of it. You look at it, it's available as an app on your your Apple TV in your home, and also on the Stadium app itself, Android and iOS marketplaces. And it provides a new way of getting sports to you when you want it.
That's fantastic, and you're definitely not wrong. I know a lot of students here, they watch the games in the library, and they can't bring a flat screen TV in there. So this is a fantastic company. They definitely have made it versatile on all platforms, and all around great. And glad to hear you guys are starting off right. If you guys are interested in watching it, you can check it out if you're in the Raleigh area at WLFL. Channel 22, or if you're up in Old Dominion country, you can watch it on WTVZ, Channel 33. You can also watch it at watchstadium.com, watchstadium.twitter.com, or you can check it out on Pluto TV, which is Channel 207. And like he said, there's also an app on the App Store. Max, thank you so much. This has been very insightful, very grateful to get to speak with you. Thank you for talking with us.
No, my pleasure, Thomas, and take care.